excited for this training tonight. So I'm going to introduce Madeline. She is like such an R-bound rock star. If you don't know who she is, get with the program. Follow her on Instagram. She's amazing. Get ready to take a ton of notes too, because she's going to drop some major nuggets and golden things that you are going to want to take away, I promise. But she is amazing. She has such determination, grit, and a heart for serving others. She grew up in Meridian, Mississippi, and went to Alabama, where she was introduced to Arbonne. And she's going to tell you a little bit about her backstory, so I won't go too much into that, but she's now living in Denver and living the life of her dreams. I always see her stories, and she's like out skiing and brunching and dining with friends, and it's just amazing. And it's so cool, y'all, that she built this lifestyle exactly to what she wanted. And she has been doing this business for a little over 2 years. And in that time, y'all, she has earned 2 AIT trips. She's walked the stage 6 or 8 times at GTC Grand Awards, and she has promoted to MVP, and she also has promoted her first direct national vice president, giving her her MVP on June 1st. So I'm going to toss it over to Madeline and let her take it away. And y'all, big welcome to this rock star.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you so much, Gabby. And thank you for asking me. It's always just such an honor to be able to share my heart with others. And it's kind of funny. I was actually asked to do a training for Arbonne really on my story and kind of the shifts it took. And a lot of it was what Gabby had asked me to speak about. So I'm like, well, perfect. So you're the first to hear this story. Granted, I'm probably going to add a little bit more than I could in the short time that they had asked me to share. But I'm just so happy to be here with you today. And I also want to say, congrats to you for being on this call. And that's just one step to show that you are taking your business seriously. You're committed to showing up for your business, every day, being on your live, learning, being poured into, because that really is something that sets apart being average from being spectacular in this is plugging in and just really learning more. But like Gabby said, my name is Madeline Griffin, and I'm an executive national vice president with Arbonne, which still feels so surreal to say because that was truly my biggest goal from jumping into this business. I was like, I want to be an executive national vice president. So the goal never stops. Still to this day, I'm continuing to add more to that because it really is just not only getting to where I am today, but helping others get here is just so special. But I'm going to be sharing my story with you and some of the biggest shifts and tricks that I've learned along the way. But before I get started, I want you to know that my story is not typical, but you can find what is at earnings.arbonne.com. And I also want you to know that you're not going to be getting the sugar-coated version from me, because I'm going to share with you mainly how I've gotten to where I am today from a lot of the mistakes that I've made, just so hopefully that you can learn from them too. But kind of like Gabby said, I was actually introduced to Arbonne March of 2018. So at the time, I was a senior at the University of Alabama. It was nearing graduation for the majority of my friends, but I truly wasn't concerned about the next steps of my life because I was about to stay for an extra semester in the fall to finish my double major and double minor. And I remember exactly where I was sitting in the couch in my sorority house. We were talking to all my friends. We were talking about our weekend, everything going on in our lives. And I got a text message from this random number who just happened to be ENVP Kat Terracina. At the time, she was an area manager in qualification for RVP, and she told me all about this company, which I had actually heard about it before, but way in the past. I was like, I would think it was only a skincare and makeup company at the time, but hadn't heard about it in so long. I'm like, what is this airborne thing? Isn't that thing you put in your drinks so you don't get sick? I had no idea what this company really was. But it was actually an old friend of mine that was in pharmacy school with Kat that shared my information with her, gave her my number, and told her she thought I would be good at this business. So that's kind of one of my first steps. Do not underestimate the power of referrals, because I was actually a referral to Kat from a mutual friend. But I have to say, I was very intrigued by the fact that she was able to earn a little extra money from her phone, and she was able to do that, throughout the nooks and crannies of her day on her own time while being in school, considering I was working part-time and only getting paid when I was physically showing up to work, which wasn't very often due to my very active social life and very busy school schedule. But even though I was interested, I pretended I was not at all. I did not give it even the time of day because I was too scared to do anything outside of my comfort zone. It really terrified me. And all I could think about, well, what would people think? Would I even be good at that? Who would even buy for me? And just about every other fear and hesitation in the world, which I'm sure we've all been there. But I immediately wrote it off without even learning more. I politely texted her back and declined her. And the only reason I even texted her back anyway, I probably would have ignored it. But the only reason I texted her back is because of that referral, because I was thinking, well, if Harini asked her if I sent back and I didn't, I'm gonna feel really bad. So I literally only sent back because I was worried our mutual friend was gonna ask her if I did. And I went on my way, or so I thought that I did. But I just want to say, I felt like I had it all figured out. I was always taught you go straight to college after you graduate high school. You make good grades, you build your resume, you get a degree, and you go straight to work. And throughout my 4 years in college, I worked so hard to do just this. But as my friends graduated, they moved on and started to get jobs, enter the corporate world, the more lost and confused that I felt. First of all, I liked that tight community that I'd had, all throughout college. And then also I realized I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do with my life or do after college. And that really terrified me. But I'd always had really big goals for myself throughout my life. So growing up living with a single mom, I watched her work 2 jobs, countless sleepless nights. Like she literally busted her butt just to provide for the basic things in our life, just the necessities. And it was really heartbreaking. I watched her struggle, and also she wasn't really, not that she wasn't present, but it was hard for her to be present. And I don't want to tell her this, but I think that's the reason I'm so messy to this day, because she didn't even hardly have time to discipline us because she was working her butt off just to support us. And I knew so badly I was going to do whatever it took to be able to provide for my future family. And I also wanted to have flexibility and choices in my life. I laugh. This is so terrible to even admit, but I worked an internship one summer. And I've always loved working hard, but I hated the structure of having to be there at a certain time. I worked an internship, could not have been better hours. Truly, it was like from 9 to 2 from Monday through Thursday, right? Like that's pretty good. But I just hated if something happened, I couldn't pick up and go, even in the bad times, which I've learned with this business. I've had times where it's not always going to go, everything in your life going to go perfectly. And I've had times where I've had losses in my family. This year, I've lost 4 really close family members, which is so terrible. But the fact that with this business, I knew that I didn't have to ask off work. I could pick up and go. So not only in the good times when I want to pick up and go and do fun things, but in the bad times too, when I have to pick up and do these things, I knew that flexibility was super, super important to me. And also I wanted to be able to give back to those who have sacrificed so much for me throughout my entire life. But I did not have any idea how. But thankfully I had this little bug named Cat in my ear and blowing up my phone that never took my original no as a no. And this is super important, because I know a lot of us can get discouraged about no's and everything, but because she stayed pleasantly persistent is the reason why I am where I am today. And despite all the times I ignored her, made excuses as to why I wouldn't even take a look at the opportunity, she stayed so pleasantly persistent, and following up with me and continued to debunk my excuses because she saw something in me that I did not see in myself at the time. So literally it took her about 3 months and 28 text messages later before I finally agreed to watch a video explaining more about this opportunity. And I realized that it was so much bigger than me. And I also realized that a lot of the fears and hesitations that were holding me back in the first place weren't even true. So for example, one thing that would always say to her is, or not always, but I would be like, oh, I'm busy. And she would say, well, I'm actually building this while I'm in pharmacy school. I'm like, okay, crap, can't use that as an excuse. Okay, what next? Well, I couldn't go to the post office all the time and ship stuff. And she's like, what are you talking about? We don't have to ship things. Arvon does that for us. So I just want to make that point, because a lot of times we're so quick to just be like, right, someone says no, because they're this and that. We're like, okay, but no, a lot of times it just takes debunking their excuses and letting them know why that is not an excuse. And she was so good about debunking all my excuses. So I finally decided to watch this video, and then I felt like something just hit me. All I started to think is like, wow, how dare I pray for an opportunity, but then turn it away from fear? I think that's so powerful, because no matter, obviously, if you're on here, you are on here because, you said yes to this opportunity, but still a lot of times we're held back because of fear. But how dare we do that? Because we're making it about us. Whatever reason you started, whatever your why was, whatever it is, how dare we have prayed for an opportunity and jumped in it, but we are not fully jumping in because of our fear. So that really just hit me hard. And then after that, though, all it took was me trying 1 protein shake and 1 energy fizz stick. And I'm like, all right, I'm in, sign me up. But I have to say, I wasn't the most dedicated consultant like at the very, very beginning of my business. It was kind of one of the craziest times when I did jump in. It was 10 days before I left to backpack through Europe for a month and a half. And as we know, you can work this business if you have Wi-Fi and a dream. So that is the beauty of it. But while I was there, I would carve out time to work, but I was still very much treating this like a hobby. When I got back, I was in desperate need of a reset in my life. So I jumped in and did our 30 Days Healthy Living program. And I was really super scared I wouldn't be able to stick with it, because I am the pickiest eater, and truly the most consistent thing I've ever stuck to before was eating pizza for 30 days straight by complete accident. But I knew that if I wanted to have really good results and be able to share this with my full ability with others, then I needed to do it really good. And I kind of thought of it as being paid to be the best version of myself. So I was like, I know if I do this really well, have great results, can be able to speak passionately on it, then I know I'm going to be able to share it better with others. And as we all know, that passion trumps knowledge any day. So I think that's super important. But with this program, I started to feel incredible. I got my weight under control, created healthy habits, and experienced so many benefits. And I truly wanted every single person in my life, especially those that I love, to be able to benefit and feel these same things too. Could not stop talking about it. And I just decided to get into more income producing activity. But do you remember the girl at the beginning of the story that was too afraid of what other people thought and that no one would buy from her? Well, but she became so passionate about this program and these products, and she did not care who said no. She knew if it could help just one person like it did her, then it would be worth it. So if you find yourself getting discouraged by no's, I want you to really pay attention to this part. I actually reached out to 80 people in my warm market before I had one person decide to take a look and order. And I could have looked at those odds as not too good. I mean, 1 in 80, wow, that doesn't seem great. But I chose to be positive and keep sharing with more people because I knew that I had something so special to offer. And I also knew that I'd planted a ton of seeds that just because someone wasn't interested then doesn't mean that they won't be later. I just knew if I was consistent in sharing over and over again, then they would gain interest. And I'm kind of fast forwarding here, but I will say I actually found this list a year later. I was going for a promotion or something, and I found this list. And y'all, all but about 10 people had either joined my team or bought products for me on this list because I stayed consistent and I stayed the course. And so I think that's kind of cool. But going back to what I was saying, so there's actually an old marketing technique that says, it's called the rule of 7, that says a prospect needs to hear your marketing message at least 7 times before they take action and buy from you. So I knew that it took me multiple exposures, 3 months of exposure to even gain interest, and that so many other people's lives change in 30, 60, and 90-day cycles. So just because they're saying no now doesn't mean they might not later. So as long as I didn't quit, as long as I stayed consistent in sharing how these products and business fit into my life on social media, then I knew these seeds would eventually sprout. And so they slowly started to. So that month, I finished my promotion district manager truly by the skin of my teeth. I think I put in the last order myself to, push me over the ledge to hit that promotion. But this is truly where my business took a shift. That next week, I went to Kat's car presentation, and this was why I say it took such a shift, because I feel like my vision and mindset changed so much. So I actually met ENVP Hannah Fit there. So she was a brand new RVP at the time. She was also the youngest RVP at the time, which I thought was super cool. And she was sharing with me something that I'll never forget. I told her, I was like, I cannot possibly imagine being where you are, because I worked so hard to get to district manager and I barely even hit it. And she was like, Madeline, you're making this so much more complicated than it needs to be. If you think about it this way, y'all, and I'm not kidding, think about this. If you think about it this way, the volume that you need to get into qualification for RVP is the same as helping 16 people hit their Consultant Achievement Award. And I was like, wow, like mind blown by this. I truly felt like at this moment, like every single thing clicked. And I'm not sure if you've seen the movie Limitless, but it's about this man who took this pill and it opens up like 100% of the capacity of his brain, all this unused, parts of his brain that you're not normally tapping into. And it was like I took this fictional Limitless pill. I realized that this business is not rocket science, like we somehow make it to be. It's actually so simple. It just takes working hard and following the system. And I want to say too, all of the things that it takes to build this business, they're so easy to do, but they're also so easy not to do. So it just takes doing them. But until this point, I really had only had one foot in. I'd only been focused on selling the products, but I was not sharing the business really hardly at all. And which we know is the best part. I started to assume that if someone was interested in the business, that they would just come to me, which if you even slightly think that, I just want you to know that is not the case about 99% of the time. For so long, I felt like I was just trying to reinvent the wheel. I would reach out to people, about products. I would post on social media, and I felt like that was enough, but it's not enough. It takes doing all the different things. So I was trying to reinvent that wheel. I wasn't being coachable because I wasn't doing all the things I was told to do since day one. And I think a lot of it too was I realized, I already put it out there to the world that I'm doing this business. Now I have 2 options. I can prove everyone right that said this business would not work for me. And the only way I was going to do that is by just quitting or not trying. Or I could prove everyone wrong that said that it wouldn't. And just by working it and staying and continuing to do it consistently until. And so I'm the type of person, I'm going to prove everyone wrong any other day. So you tell me I can't do it, I'm going to say, watch me. And so I realized I just have to do these things. And so I realized that I wanted this business to pay like a business instead of a hobby. I needed to treat it like a business, which meant putting that time and energy into it that it deserves, as well as teaching a team alongside me to do the same. You can accomplish so much more if you really start to duplicate, and you're going to change so many others' lives. But soon after this, I started my final semester of college where I was taking 18 hours, one of which required 40 hours a week. So it was truly, and I was working part-time. So truly the busiest I've ever been. But I did not let that become an excuse at all. I really found that it was even easier to work when I was on a schedule because you really can fit it in here except until, or where the other side is, you're not doing anything and you're like, oh, I need to do this now. Like, no, Arbonne is fun. I would fit it into those nooks and crannies of my life. And I also knew that if I wanted to see more results and quicker, that I needed to get in front of more people than just 40 faces a month, which if you think 40 faces a month means reaching out to 40 people, that is not true. 40 faces a month means having a back and forth conversation with 40 people. But I knew if I wanted to see more results, that still wasn't even enough. I needed to do more than that. But here's a news flash for you. If you think that you've gone through your entire warm market, which basically means the people that you know or you've met or you know of friends, etc., then I can almost guarantee you that you have not. You probably have just gone through the people that you are comfortable with asking. And so I stopped prejudging if someone would be interested or not. I started asking people that terrified me. I coached my PCs well, and I asked them to take a look at the business. I started registering new consultants. I launched my new consultants, helped them getting started, basically by launching them, giving them all the tools and resources that I was given, and checking in on them. I asked new people, and I shared on social media daily. And by daily, I don't mean you post a graphic once a week. I mean sharing every day how this fits into my life. I started to get on team calls every week and not miss. I dove into personal development books. I surrounded myself with the community. I did whatever I had to do to show up to every single Arbonne event available. And I never let myself get too complacent at any level. So I had the mindset to move through every promotion, meaning I didn't get to district manager and be like, yes, I'm a district manager now, which I did. I was excited, but I wasn't like, all right, I'm just going to hang out here for a second. I'm like, all right, how do I get to area? All right, what do I do next to get to region? I was constantly seeing who I could build up and bring into this business and stuff and not getting too complacent because I knew that was making it about me. But I knew that and I was the hardest worker on my team because I knew if I wasn't willing to do these things and I did not want it bad enough. And truly, I just recently read the book, The Secret, which if you have not read, you need to. But I didn't even know it at the time, but I was subconsciously using the law of attraction, which is about how your thoughts become actions. So I was acting as if I was a VP well before I was one. So by being very intentional and consistent with this, I started to see the compound effect. And also too, when you are running and you're excited in this, you're going to attract those same type of people. And so after a lot of hard work and consistency, I promoted to regional vice president. I promoted my first region, Braden East, and I graduated from college. At that point, Arbonne actually became my plan A, which was just mind blowing for me. It's something that I kind of just started for fun, was able to become my plan A. But I know this might look like a straight uphill climb, but trust me, that is not the case. We are getting to the good part. But in January of 2019, I qualified for national vice president for the first time. And this was a goal that I had been shooting after since I started my business. However, I did quite possibly the two worst things that one can do. And so again, I love to train mainly from the mistakes that I've made because I think they're a lot more powerful than me just sitting here and being like, well, I just did this and this and I'm where I am today. No one in Arbonne, no one successful or anything in Arbonne is going to have a perfect journey because we all go through the ups and the downs and everything. And that really does shape you to be who you are. But I did the two quite possible worst things I could do. The first thing I did was I got into manager mode. And so instead of doing all the things it took for me to get to where I was, like working my own personal business and personally registering new consultants and PCs, I was only working my team's business and I was doing busy work. So instead of personally adding people, I was just like, oh, where can I help you? Which you need to be doing both. Here's a harsh reality. Your team will run at the pace of their leader. So what you do, good or bad, will duplicate. If you aren't personally registering new, then you cannot expect anyone on your team to do that either. If you don't even have a team, know this for the future because it is so important. And also, you cannot want it more for someone than they want it for themselves. So it's inevitable that people are going to quit, which is why it's so important that you are adding new, adding more, adding quicker than people can fall off. And the second mistake I made was getting caught in the comparison trap, which another place you do not want to be. We know comparison is the biggest thief of joy. But I had some incredible friends that I qualified for nation with. And instead of keeping my head down and focused on the business, on my business, I found myself looking left and right. What are they doing? Where are they? And I started to feel like I wasn't capable. I started to just put like judge and this and I was more focused on what everyone else was doing than myself. And in turn, this led me to wasting so much valuable time, and it allowed so much self-doubt to creep in, which is another worst thing. In April of 2019, I'd officially fallen out of Nation Call. I had allowed myself to get in such a low mental state, and I let myself and my head be filled with so much lies. I felt so defeated, like a bad leader, and like I'd let so many people down. However, though, little did I know at the time that what I felt was the end of the world was actually going to be the best thing that would ever happen to my business. You see, if you notice a common trend in a lot of what I've been sharing, it was a lot about I this and me this. And I realized that the problem that I had was an I problem. And I'm sure you might have heard that before, but I had an I problem. I realized I'd been mainly making this about me, and I had lost focus as to why I started this business, which was about serving others. And so I had to make a huge shift in my why. There's a quote that says, the greatest teacher in life is your last failure. Just because you missed something the first time, second time, or even the third time doesn't mean it's over. So I picked my big girl panties up, I dried my tears, and made a decision that we would be a nation no matter how long it took, because I knew that it meant that so many others' lives would be changed along the way. But even after that, month after month, we would get so close to qualification, but just miss it by the slightest. But I have to say, in those months, through all the highs and lows, that's actually what developed me into becoming the leader that I knew I was meant to be. One that has desire, my heart's much bigger than the doubters, one who has grit and resilience and continues to show up when things don't go as planned. And most importantly, strong faith in knowing that his timing is so much better than my own. So after all of that being said, I want to share with you a few of the most important things that I believe got me to where I am today. So the first is belief. Number one, belief/mindset. Whether you think you can or you can't, you are right. What you think about comes about. So are you speaking life or death over your business? And I will tell you with mindset too, I have a funny story. So I live in Colorado now, I live in Denver, and I was hiking right whenever, so I moved here August of last year. And so whenever I moved, my friend and my mom were like, we're doing a 14er, which if you don't know what that is, it is a hike. There's only about 53 of them in the entire US, and it's at 14,000 feet altitude. So super difficult, really hard to breathe. Most people train for months to do this. Well, I don't work out hardly ever. I'm working on that. I had not acclimated. I just moved here. It only been a few weeks. And I hadn't even done one hike. I think I'd only been on one like mile walk here. So it is just with altitude, it's a lot harder to breathe and everything. So I decided to do this hike. I was actually forced to do it, but it's okay. Anyways, as I'm walking with them, I'm complaining the entire time. I'm like, Mom, like, why'd you make me do this? Y'all knew I couldn't do this. Blah, blah, blah. I'm complaining. And then something hit me, and I'm like, okay, Madeline, I realize every single time I start complaining, the more I have to stop and the longer it's going to take me to get to the top of this mountain. And it hit me with my business. I'm like, and my team's businesses. I'm like, wow, how relatable is that? You know, the more that we sit there and waste time complaining and this and letting all these things get to us, we're running out of breath, we're losing energy, and we're having to stop. And the longer it's going to take for us to get to the top. So that was kind of like a huge wow moment for me. And so I realized plugging in is something that's going to help so much with that. Plugging into my team calls, plugging into reading, plugging into all these different things was going to make the biggest difference there. I actually I was listening to a SoundCloud one time, and it was talking about, it was some ENTP that was sharing this, but they're like how we are like our phones. So when we are plugged in, our phones are plugged into the charger, you know, it's at 100%. And when we unplug it, it's slowly going to start, you know, to lose battery, slowly going to start dwindling down until it gets to 0 and it's going to die. Well, we're like that. So when we're in trainings, listening to calls, we're all fired up, we're excited, and then we don't plug in again. We're not reading, we're not doing these things. We're slowly going to start to lose that energy and to lose, you know, a lot of that until we plug back in again. And I think that's so powerful to me because it's just so important to continue to plug in and fill your brain with people's stories, people's tips, people's this and that, because no one's ever going to hold anything back from you. We rise by lifting others in this business. We're going to always tell you, you know, everything that it took us to be successful. It just takes having to continue to be fired up and continue to be fueled with that, and then to use their tips and actions. Like, you know, it's so easy to hop on here and be a face on the screen, which still, I'm so proud of y'all for doing that. But still, you know, it's not just that, it's listening and then putting the action behind it. But having that belief is so important. Okay, the second one is short-term sacrifice for long-term gain. And I think this is really what propelled me from going from region to nation. But I really was doing this when I was going from just from starting my business to region, but it really, really especially hit me going from region to nation. But I was someone who, like, I loved, I'm the queen of FOMO. I love doing all these things here and there, everywhere around the world. But I realized if I really wanted this to work, that I had to really focus, and I knew I was going to have more, you know, long-term gain from that. Because if you want to stay where you are, you can continue to keep doing this exact same thing. But if you want to be in a different place, it takes having to prioritize some things and changing some things. So I remember after month of hitting just around the same numbers, I called Kat, my sponsor, and I'm like, what do I need to do? I don't know. What am I doing wrong? And she's like, Madeline, people going for nation or just going for any promotion or wanting to take this business seriously, Arbonne is their number one priority. And I was so mad because I truly thought that Arbonne was my number one priority. I was like, I am busting my butt day in and day out. I'm spending every hour of the day working this business. And then I was like, wait, well, I'm spending a lot of hours working Monday through Thursday and not Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Not saying that you have to skip any plans that you have Friday and Saturday and Sunday, but I knew if I'm sitting here complaining about why I'm not where I am, that I wasn't spending those days working. And then I realized, wow, that is 12 days of my month. Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, if you do not work any of those days, that's 12 days of my month. So I know so often we get to the end of the month and wish, gosh, I wish I had one more day. Well, here's the thing. We probably had it. We just didn't use it. So it's so important you're using your time wisely. And think about it. If you're taking Friday, Saturday, and Sunday off, but then you're taking a random Tuesday off here, Wednesday off here, Thursday off here, Friday off here, and then those days that you are working, you're only really spending probably a few hours working. You might only be spending 20 hours of the entire month working. So you cannot expect to have these paychecks and be where you want to be if you're not willing to put the time in. So I knew if I wanted to be where I needed to be, I needed to sacrifice in the short term to have those long-term gains. Okay. Going back to number 3. So your why needs to be bigger than you. So this will keep you from ever becoming complacent. To be great, you must serve many. And when you have a huge why, you will never stop when it gets hard. So like I mentioned at the beginning, I know every single one of you probably joined this business for some reason, whether it was you want to be able to provide for your family, you wanted more time in your life, you wanted to be able to do certain things, you wanted to be able to stay home with your kids, you wanted to, whatever it is. You have to remember that when you think that it's hard, it is not hard. What is hard is not being able to fulfill those things that you wanted to in your life because you weren't willing to do what it took. So you have to have a why that's so much bigger than you so you will never get complacent. And even for me as an executive national vice president now, I'm constantly having shifts in my why. At the beginning, yes, it was a lot about me. My car was breaking down on the side of the road. I was like, wow, it'd be really great to be able to get to that level where I can get the VP Success Award. That was a lot about me. It's okay if you have a lot that are just about you, but you have to evolve it to where your why has eyeballs. Your why has something you can look in the eye and say, I'm doing this for you. And it's going to continue to push you harder every single day. So I will say January 1st, 2020, we officially became Soulshine Nation. And it was the most special moment of my entire life. It was actually, I guess, technically promoted New Year's Eve, exactly at midnight my time. So fireworks were going off. I'm like, who did this for me? But it was one of the most amazing things that I've ever been able to do in my life, just to see a goal that I had originally qualified for a year before, but I did not quit. I continued to show up because I knew it was so much bigger than me, and I would not change my journey for anything. The greatest glory in living lies not in never failing, but in rising every single time we fall. And so I want you to know that's so powerful. Your journey is your own and it's unique. And if I've learned anything, it's that people are always going to be more inspired by your perseverance and determination, and you're going to be a much better person and leader because of it. I know personally, I would rather go for it with everything in me than regret not going for it. So my journey actually pushed one of my VPs to relentlessly go for nation with everything in her. And she was someone who at the time wasn't even hitting her VP maintenance. And because I finally did it, it showed her, wow, this is possible. This is more proof that this can happen. And so I am so proud to say that because of this, it led to my first direct national vice president, which was truly my biggest achievement of all, because as we know, we rise by lifting others in this. And so I don't care where you are in your business, know that you can be in a different place and you're worth it and you're deserving of doing everything in your power to make it happen. I know one of the things that Gabby asked me to talk about was with AIT, we have something to always be shooting for, which is what's so fun. Even, at the beginning, yes, my goal was ENVP. I want to shoot for ENVP. Well, now I am an executive national vice president, but doesn't mean I take my foot off the pedal. It means there's always something that we can be shooting for to make this more exciting and more fun. And so, coming up, we have first of all, we have our new Age Well collection that just launched, which is something so exciting to be able to just ask more people to take a look, or ask someone who has been in your, maybe joined your business and they've taken a step away, say, we have a revolutionary new product. Like, you need to jump back into this business. We have exciting things to be pushing for all the time. And especially coming in December, we'll have an opportunity to earn a new AIT trip, which who does not want to, travel? It's great. And so I know whenever I joined, I started, or whenever with AIT that first year, there was someone in my team who was a brand new district manager as of November 1st. And so with December, I was like, all right, come on, you can earn this trip. It's easier, just not easier, but it's just as easy for someone brand new to earn this as it is a VP, because it all is coming the volume from your central district. So there's always something you can be pushing for. I actually had that brand new district manager actually earned the trip that one year. And it was so cool to see that really there's something always that we can always be shooting for. We never know what's going to happen, who's going to come into our lives, who's going to come into our business. And so it's really just shooting for it with everything in us, and knowing that we have so many people's lives that can be changed because of this. But I want to close with asking you a few questions. Do you have goals, dreams, hopes? I personally have a list, and I keep and revisit them regularly. It helps me remember the things I want most in order to live out the unique calling that God has placed on my life. So I want you to think about what you want most in your life right now. So write down that one thing that you want most more than anything else right now. Do you believe that you are worth whatever you desire? Like, really worth it, not just like, yeah, I know it, but like, yes, I believe it with all of my might that I am worth this. It is time to take back your life, where God restores what has been stolen, the hurt, the lies, the rejection, the disappointments, and failures. But today, God is stirring something fresh inside of you. And then to close this all out, I want to say, even though I had highs and lows in my business, no matter what came my way, no matter who said no matter who laughed at me, who didn't return my text or calls, because there's a lot of those, no matter who unfollowed me, no matter what circumstances came my way, my passion has never wavered. My vision has never wavered. My belief has never wavered. So make a decision to be all in, because you deserve this. Your family deserves this. You deserve to be building a business that is willable for generations. Remember, there are obstacles that are going to come your way. It's inevitable. But every obstacle that comes your way is an invitation for you to step into your greatness. Thank you, guys.
Oh my gosh, that was amazing. Y'all, I have goosebumps, and I literally took 3 pages of notes. I hope you did too. And I don't want to keep Madeline on for too long, but if anyone has questions, feel free to unmute yourself and go ahead and ask those real quick. Any questions? That was so awesome.
Hey, Madeline, I have a question for you, because I know I've talked to my little cousin and one of your pledge sisters, and I've talked to her a little bit about this, and one of her initial fears is one of those common, like, I don't know if I know enough people, I don't know. And now it's well, Madeline and I know a lot of the same people, and I'm just scared because she knows so much. She has everything, and she just knows so many same people, and she's already talked to them and all this stuff. And I've talked to several people who have also said similar things, but this is just my best example with you. How would you, have you ever seen that with some of your other pledge sisters, or any other, while you were still in college, any of your other college friends? And how would you go about it?
So first of all, you're talking about Grace, right? Yes, like, she's one of my best friends. I love it. So this has happened with friends, it's happened with multiple people, but I will say the biggest thing is to just reassure people that, like, this market is not saturated. I think about just 2 years ago that, Kat could have probably thought, well, gosh, there's so many people that know about this. And she reached out to me and I'm like, what's this airborne thing? I really didn't know what it was. And so there's still going to be so many people in like life that don't know about this. And also too, sometimes it just takes that one person that just does decide. And I tell people this a lot. I'm like, with other companies or anything, there's always going to be people, yes, that have already done it before, but maybe it's just going to be you that does decide to do it, that's going to pave that way and show others and give them the courage that they can do it as well. And so every person, you don't know who you're affecting, and sometimes it takes people multiple exposures. So sometimes it might be that one person, it might be them joining that's going to allow someone else to step out of their comfort zone and jump in and do it. And so too, like with my VP, Braden, that's my direct national vice president. So she was my boyfriend and my boyfriend's friend group in college. And we knew a lot of the same people actually. And I reached out to her on a Friday night and she did not respond to me. And so I reached out to her again on Monday and I was like, oh my gosh, girl, I just realized I reached out to you on a Friday night. You're probably out and about. So I just wanted to follow up and see if you got this, which she was not. She was like, I definitely saw it and ignored you. But she just was like, oh yeah, somehow I must have missed this. So I'm always playing devil's advocate. But that was one of the reasons why that she was hesitant to jump in, because we had so many mutual friends. But what was weird enough, and I would tell her, I was like, listen, here's the thing. It's inevitable you're going to know some people that I don't know, or some people that don't know this. We all have different networks. And hey, here's the thing. You're going to know people that haven't been exposed, and then they're going to know people, and they're going to know people, and you're able to just tap into so many other people's networks. So just because, I mean, you don't need every single person you know to join you in order for you to be successful in Arbonne. You know, in fact, a lot of the people that you know will just help you get started, and the majority of your team will come from people that you've never even met yet. You know, also too, whenever anyone says like, so many people do this, like I look up the I will Google the US population or just the population I send it to them. I'm like, really? So there's only this many consultants in Arbonne, but there's this many people in the US. Like, I think that there's a lot of people that still don't know about it, you know? So I think it's just reminding people. I really feel like a lot of the reason people don't do things like this or don't do anything in life is because of just the fear of really what other people think. And so it's really, a lot of it is just really getting to the real root of their problem. They're going to say things like, I don't have time. I don't know enough people, this and that. But the real root is they're just too afraid of what other people think, or whatever their real root is, getting to that real root of the problem, and just allowing and showing them why that is not the case, and showing them that they can do this and building their belief. Because as we know, you know, we have so many things in life that are thrown at us that tell us this and that, and we're filled with so much self-doubt and everything. And so it's really just showing someone, and that was for me, Kat had to show me that I was so capable of more than I thought myself. And so it really is just showing them their worth, that showing them that there's a lot of other people out there, and that they know that just because they know a few people that maybe are already joined it, it's probably going to take them to jump out of their comfort zone to allow so many others to do the same that are also scared. Kind of a good answer to that.
That's a really good answer. Thank you.
I hope that made sense.
Anyone else? Awesome. Well, y'all definitely friend Madeline on Instagram. Feel free to reach out. Tell her she's awesome, because she is. And thank you so much, Madeline, for training us tonight. Everyone was really pumped to hear from you. And I'm sure there's going to be some follow-up questions too.
Well, perfect. Thank you all so much for taking the time to get on this. Like I said, it just means so much that y'all are being all in. You're taking the time to, you know, plug in and really build your businesses. So I'm so proud of y'all. I hope I said something. I know you probably heard a lot of that I said tonight, but I hope I've said one thing that just truly could bless you. And I hope that you will put anything I said to action, and just have a great rest of your month, and use all these incentives that we have with Arbonne to just close it out so strong. Thanks, guys. Thanks for asking me to get on.
Thank you. And I have one more thing. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Anna. Happy birthday to you.
Y'all, we really got to work on that. Happy birthday,
Andrea.
Thank the Lord y'all do Arbonne.
Oh my gosh.
You sure you don't want us to become professional singers? We can do that.
I was so bad.
Well,
when you
y'all, some quick announcements. We have our next 30-day group starting. Polly just created the group, and we'll be posting that in Success and Simplicity Nation. So make sure to add yourself and your new 30-day people into that group. And then just be on the lookout. We have some fun things coming up. Polly, Andrea, Yen, do y'all have anything you want to jump in?
Just remember about Wisdom Wednesdays. We have Jane Gardner speaking Wednesday.
Yes.
He's muted. Yeah. So Jane Gardner is this Wednesday. So that's something you can just plug into. But no, that's it that I have. Happy birthday, Andrea.
Thank you.
Yay.
All right. Y'all have a great night.
Happy
Great
birthday.
night. Yeah.
Happy almost birthday. Bye.
Bye, guys.